Every journey begins with a single step. For many, the first step is the greatest challenge. Yet for all, the obstacles, the doubt, and conviction teach us about ourselves. It's these moments in life, a test of our abilities, our mind, when we don't know, but we still proceed, driven by the unspoken, but ignited by the obsession that yields some of life's greatest lessons and rewards. Join me as we explore incredible stories of leaders forging industries, enterprises, and ultimately, themselves. I'm your host, Adam Giery, and welcome to Capital Class. Let's begin. Classmates, welcome to another episode of Capital Class. As we often do, we explore the journey of the enterprise, the grit, the challenge, the success of building. Today's episode, we return to a founder focused on the mainstay of an American education system, the cooking class. If you're of a certain age, the word home economics means something to you, right? It was budgeting, it was sewing, it was health, it was hygiene, and it was cooking. Interestingly, those core competencies to live a productive life were often eschewed as less. Home ec, however, is likely one of the most common skills utilized on a daily basis, and none more truer than feeding ourselves and cooking. In a global society with well-documented issues of health and wellness, one has to wonder, could it be our casual and cavalier nature to food paired with cheaper and prepared alternatives that has impacted our overall wellness? On today's episode of Capital Class, we are joined by Svetlana Elgart, founder and CEO of Rainbow Chefs Academy, focused on health, wellness, and nutrition education, offsetting diabetes and obesity. Svetlana, welcome to Capital Class.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to meet you, Adam, and so happy to be here with you.
Svetlana, your story is both unique and very common, right? And we talk about this a lot. Common in that you were a founder who saw a problem and is solving it. But unique in that you've really built a series of enterprises for students, right? Arts, homework, and now cooking and nutrition. Take us there. Why this area? Why this industry? What do you love about it? Kind of tell us the beginning.
Gosh, I don't know where to start. The beginning, it was a while back. I enjoy working with kids. I have 3 daughters, so I have always been very involved in that part of life. If education, schools, working inside the classrooms, and helping my kids grow healthily. I found that there is a big black hole that is existing in our society and our school system when it comes to healthy eating, healthy cooking, and health, wellness, and nutrition education as a whole. And when my children got a little bit older, I decided that I wanted to give back to society by creating a health, wellness, and nutrition education company that would actually encompass and try to help our schools, our parents, our community to really educate our kids on how to live a healthy lifestyle. Because I have gotten to see through my children being I have girls and they're all very outgoing and chatty. And I always had a lot of kids at my house. And I cooked a lot. And I still cook a lot. And I cook from scratch. So you can imagine that most of American society does not spend as many hours in the kitchen as I used to spend. And I watched a lot of kids around my kitchen table, as they came and go, being obese and being diabetic. And I just started to question how that can be in the United States of America, right? Rich country, free country. How does that happen? And the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to get involved. And I wanted to find, I understand the issue, but I wanted to solve that problem because I feel I'm super lucky to be here because I'm an immigrant child. And I just wanted to give back to society. And this was what I thought would be the most useful way to do, and something that I can do myself, since I am pretty educated on the subject and do a lot of cooking, and health, wellness, and nutrition has always been a part of my life, and it was always instilled in me. So I didn't have to think too hard about it. So I think that's probably how I got here.
Food's interesting. It's almost a time capsule, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's this very, very personal chapter or
Yes.
part of everyone's mosaic, right? Their food, what they
Yes.
eat, what that food represents to them, when they
Yes.
eat it, right? You don't eat the same foods year round. You eat them in different seasons.
Yes.
And you mentioned this. You come from another country where cooking's very normalized.
Yes.
And that must have been quite an experience to come from that society to our society where many cook. I cook. But that was something taught to me. It's not something innate.
Correct. Yes.
From your time as a child, cooking was probably very, very common. Everyone did it, correct?
Yes, it was just a part of life. You cook, you grow your food. You don't have box food. You don't. I have never had cereal before I came to America. I've never had one single chip before I came to America. So yes, if you wanted to eat something, you'd cook it, you'd make it, and then you'd eat it. So it was always a part of our life. It was always something that we did as a family. And there was not anything, it just never varied. There was no fast food restaurants. There was no Uber Eats or DoorDash. We didn't have any of that. So, I came from a very different environment to a very different environment. So, yeah.
And I'm certain the food aspect of your culture was like mine, predominantly Italian, that the food serves as a convening point, right? The energy spent, the time, and then it serves as this moment in time for everyone to gather, right? To
Absolutely.
eat.
Absolutely. Yes. It's a family time. It's almost, like you almost don't need a lot of friends because you're always, getting together for food with your family. You're always cooking together in the kitchen. You're in the garden. You're going to the store to buy, produce, fresh produce. So, you're going to the farmer's market. So it's almost like, yes, it's exactly what you said. It's a gathering thing. I think it's almost like a culture and family builder. It builds your family, the way you cook, how you're eating. It gives you, every day you have dinner with your family, so you're in tune with your family. So I think that was good. That was
So in
good.
some ways, your business was almost a return to the basics. Right?
Adam, I don't know. My business was something else. It was, yes, it was return to the basics, but it's very different here. And it was not anything that was quickly received and, understood. And I think 10 years later, which is now, there is definitely more understanding, and the need is so much greater, and people are really agreeing with this and understanding. But I think that's because the problem, when I started, it was a problem, and today it's an epidemic. And I think that everybody is struggling to understand, okay, how do we do this? How do we end this epidemic? How do we actually do something really meaningful that we can say, okay, how are we going to educate our kids our next generation in our society the difference between healthy food and not healthy food. And, how do you feed yourself? So, how do you get to understand the basics of health, wellness, and nutrition? Because you really can't do anything right until you know what is right, right? And I think that that's a big part of the issue. So it's yes, it's natural for me. It was a natural thing for me to start this business. And boy, did I think it was going to be easy, Adam. Boy, did I tell my kids at the dinner table, hey, you guys, I'm going to start a health, wellness, and nutrition education company. This was before they went to college, my older girls. And I will never forget the moment, the very quiet time at the table, and they all looked at each other like, what is she going to start? And my oldest goes, what is that? I said, I'm going to educate the kids and the teachers and our community on health, wellness, and nutrition. I remember a long sigh. She said, I wish you luck, Mom. They don't teach that in our schools. That's what she said. So, yeah.
I think there's a lot of focus on the things that aren't working, right? I mean, there's almost an epidemic of negativity, at least in my view, right? One person's view. If you were to share the bullish case, right? In some ways, it feels like food's going through a renaissance. Your available amount of the types of food, the awareness of different types of food, the awareness of how these foods interact with one another, your ability to source food. I mean, give us the case of optimism from what you're seeing, right? Tell us a little bit about kind of the positive momentum you're experiencing in your schools today, or the schools you're working with today.
Well, I guess the most positive things that I'm experiencing is growth. We have gone now national. We're out of California. We have new contracts in different states, which is a huge milestone for Rainbow Chefs Academy.
Sure.
We have an enormous repeat customer base, Adam. I think that's over 90%.
So students using you the first year, the schools will resubscribe for their next round of students.
Correct.
Wow.
Resubscribe, add. We have live testimonials from teachers, from students. I don't know if you've ever been in the school industry. Those are very hard to come by. Yeah. We have them. We're called the favorite class, the favorite club, however the schools are using it. That makes me super, super happy. When I wake up in the morning, still working 16-hour days, I think that's kind of what gets me through some of the long days that I'm still having. Teachers like it very much. That's that's a good thing. Kids, they just like to be taught. They like to touch. They like to feel. We have a hands-on component at every class. They get to actually make their food. So it's not, it's very interactive. It's intuitive. It's fun. Highly educational, aligned to Common Core, STEAM, STEM, CASEL, NGSS, ESL. So very educational, yet fun, yet experimental. So I think that we're experiencing proof of concept is well beyond, and growth and acceptance, which I'm happy and thankful for every day.
With the students, they're preparing basically raw food and cooking it in a live setting, and then they're eating that food, and all within the 44-minute, 50-minute periods.
So our modules. So we have Rainbow Chefs Academy is a SaaS platform. We have online courses, modules. They are K through 12. They are taught by teachers, and during those modules, the hands-on component, there is a backpack that comes for every student. The backpack has our tools a knife, a board, everything they need, about 10 items in there, everything they need to make a recipe. The recipes are, we don't need a stove or anything. They're called no kitchen recipes, and they can make their food right there in the classroom. So they can make a recipe. Each one of them has their tools. The teachers, get excited watching the kids, and they're helping the kids, and, they have all their materials, and we have the kids then going home, taking the backpack. So we have the kids' home connection going on. So it all in an hour, we get to accomplish that. So, yeah.
When you're working with the students specifically, do you see that there's an interest, just not an understanding? Do you see that, or kind of, I guess where I'm asking this question is, we hear a lot about education in the kind of broad strokes, right? Like, kids don't want this. Teachers don't want to do that. And that's just not been my experience, right? My experience is someone who becomes a teacher really, really cares about kids, would not sign up for this job but for that. And that students, by and large, the super majority, want to learn. And that they may have their own hangups, and certainly every kid, as they mature, goes through different episodes of challenges, right?
Yes.
Maturity.
Yes.
This concept for me, when I was in high school, which was some time ago, was being phased out then, right? Cooking was a place that kids went. It was kind of like I don't call it a free period, but you went there, you had to take like one section of it, right? You didn't take it for 4 years. You took 4 years of history and 4 years of English, 4 years of math, but you did one section of home ec, and that was it. And I noticed this return of fundamentals, right? There's a move on financial literacy, right? You're focused on cooking. Like, these are foundational pillars of being human.
Yes.
And so I asked to you, like, do you see the students specifically? Are they engaged? Do they look confused? Like, tell us about that moment when that student opens the backpack, right? Because if they're not cooking at home, what's a cutting board? What do you do with these things?
Well, I think that's where we come in, and I know you say cooking, and I want you to know, yes, cooking is a part of it, but it is truly not cooking. It is, how do you take care of yourself to be healthy? How do you cook healthy? What is seasonal food? What are the 5 food groups? What does it really mean to hydrate yourself? Life skills, manners and etiquette, all of this is part of Rainbow Chefs Academy. What I find is the teachers, as you mentioned, they are overwhelmed in schools with what they have to do. So I think what you were saying makes total sense. They want something that's ready to go, meaning they don't want to put a curriculum. They don't want to think about scope and sequence. They just want to say, okay, we'll teach health, wellness, and nutrition, but give us all the tools. And I think that's the key that I found to work. And it took me, as you could tell, a while to get here. It was not a quick, I thought Rainbow Chefs Academy, everybody was going to do this in 2 years because the hole was so big. But there is a lot of parts to it. And the teachers like that it's a solution that gives them the tools to do that. So that's why the teachers like it, and they do it, and they are easily doing it because we provide all of the tools. The kids love it because they get to eat, they get to try new recipes, they get to learn life skills, they get to learn how to be in the kitchen, how to cook, how do you actually do a recipe, how do you put together a recipe, all of the things that they really need every day to live. Because Adam, when they get older, they need to start being able to feed themselves. And even what does it mean when you go out? How do you choose your food when you go out? Because where are our society's issues? Where do they lie? Is it at home? Is it the kids that are going out? Is it a combination? Because if you learn how to eat and what to eat, and if you learn what really is health, wellness, and nutrition and the basics of that, then you can make correct choices in your life as you get older and as you become an adult. So I think that, I watch kids being super excited. Oh, this is my favorite class. The greatest thing of what you said in the beginning of the podcast, cooking, you can really relate cooking to so many things. You can do cooking in science class. You can do cooking in history, right? World history class. You can do math. Cooking encompasses so many things. It's not only cooking. It's not only health, wellness, and nutrition. It's literacy, it's math, it's English, it's science, it's history, everything. It's life skills. How do you, stay in the kitchen and talk to your family while you're cooking? How do you guys, put together recipes as your family? It's just such a major part of our life. I think because American society likes things very fast, they don't want to spend their time in the kitchen. They have kind of forgotten what that really is. And so that's why you see all of these issues that we have had. If you take the past 10 years and you just look at the numbers of diabetes and obesity, whether you're a child or an adult, it steadily goes up by, 15 to 30% each year, which is huge. If you think about it, that it never goes down and it just has a line like this, then we're now at epidemic levels, as a society. So, they just, kids like to touch food, feel food, they like to eat, they feel accomplished. I almost, I like to watch, when they look down the plate, they go, oh, I made that. Wow. 30 minutes and I made a meal or a recipe. Fantastic. It encourages them. It gives them, a lot. I mean, I think it's just a great experience for kids, and they enjoy it. They go home. Guess what happens when they go home? The parents are like, oh, you have a backpack? Oh, okay. Use your own tools in my kitchen, but come cook with us. So it starts a little bit different conversation. Parents are more comfortable. Kids are cooking in school, so maybe they can cook a little bit at home. Do you ever find that the parents don't want their kids in the kitchen? Have you ever seen that? Because I've seen a lot of that through this 10-year. They kind of, oh, you're going to hurt yourself with a knife. Oh, I'll do this for you. So they're not really big in having their kids in the kitchen yet. I grew up in a family where I was in the kitchen all of my life. All of that I can remember is me being in the kitchen, whether I was washing dishes or peeling potatoes or, I was always involved. There was no way around it. Here it's so different. So, yeah.
I experienced this in different ways, which was in my experience as a child, you cooked. Everyone cooked. I cooked. Little kids.
Of course.
You did the lower desirable jobs. Like
yes.
You peeled things.
Yes. That's how you start.
Yeah.
Yes.
You did the things that no one wanted to do, and as you aged, you wanted to do less of those. There's a kind of an Italian joke, the kind of idiot grates the cheese, right? And so your father would walk on and be like, here's the cheese. You'd be like, I don't want to do that, but you did. And I think the opposite of that is there's a protectionism of children, not wanting them to get injured or get hurt. And that can kind of keep people out of the kitchen. I understand that. I don't know that helps them in the long run, which I think is to your point, right? You have to be acclimated to these tools. And I did go to college and meet many people who were essentially learning how to feed themselves at 20.
Yeah.
And that just was a foreign concept. You know, Svetlana, we've touched around this a couple different times, but I'm gonna dive on some of the specifics you were mentioning earlier around being an immigrant. Alex Lazarow wrote a book about, I'm paraphrasing here, that entrepreneurs from other countries build businesses that are more sustainable because they have some of these foundational principles: frugality, grit, kind of this kind of wherewithal. And not to say that American companies don't have that, but us in a culture like yours, you are Ukrainian.
Yes.
You experience things in a different way as a child, right? What it means to persist, continue on. And you've mentioned this a couple of times today that you've been at this quite some time, I take. How many years?
10.
10 years. And as an entrepreneur, it's almost a superpower, right? To make it 10 years.
That's what I'm told. Yes.
To make it 10 years, the last time I read this stat, because we're 13 years old, 4% of companies make it.
That's
globally.
What my oldest daughter tells me all the time. She says, "Hey, you're doing great. You're here."
So how foundational was it to be an immigrant, to be from a country that has some of those values, right? This kind of persistence. I think that's probably a great way to even characterize their situation at current, right? Just the willingness to persist.
Well, what's interesting, Adam, when I left Ukraine, it was not Ukraine, it was Soviet Union.
Wow.
So that was, my parents immigrated in the late 70s. And it's only now that I put together that I'm a true Ukrainian. Why? Because I'm so damn persistent. That's what it is. It's like, I'm just pushing this through and I find different ways. And I thought about it, I thought, gosh, sometimes I think every entrepreneur questions, did I do this right?
Oh, yeah.
Am I going to make it? Is it worth my time? I'm not a unicorn or, whatever the dreams for, every entrepreneur has their own dream. And I think that persistence is everything. And now that I think about it, now that you said that, and I have just very recently thought about it. In fact, at a dinner table one night, I said, "Hey, you guys," when the war started, I just said, "Hey, you guys, I figured it all out." And they were, again, the light bulb moment at the dinner table, right? I said, "I know why I'm here. I'm Ukrainian." They, I get that look, now they're older and I get that look. Like, what is she saying, right? Because they're American. And then they said, "Yeah, why?" And I said, "Because I'm still here. I'm growing and I've made it through the rough times. So yes, I'm going to tell you that yes, persistence, because it's within you. It's nothing you can learn. Can you acquire strength? You can, but I think that when you're an immigrant and when you see, I don't know how to say this. I think when your life is hard, when you don't have everything given to you, when you have struggles, for example, I'll just give you one or two examples from my childhood. What do I remember about Ukraine? How about the fact that my mom and dad would be very happy when they bought bananas? Wow. When I tell the story to my kids, they don't understand that because they have had bananas from the day they were born, 12 months a year. In Ukraine, you can only get bananas at a certain time. And, they were imported and you had to stand in line to get a banana. And I remember, the happiness of my mom and dad, "Hey, Svetlana, we have bananas today." It's like, wow, those are the things I remember. So I think that when you have struggles and I didn't speak any English when I came here, so I had to learn English when I was little, which was okay, but it was still a struggle. I still remember that part of life. So I think that people that have any kind of discomfort and struggle, they just become more persistent if they want to make something of themselves, and if they have passions and all of that. So I think that makes sense. Not that I struggled for a long time in my life, because when you come to America and you're a child, no matter how much struggle you have, it's like you moved into Disneyland and you live there. I mean, it's a happy place. America is a happy place that has no struggles, that does not have everyday struggles like the everyday struggles that Ukrainian people have every day of their lives. We don't have those struggles here. So
it's powerful.
You forget that, but then it kind of is in the back of you. So that persistence that you're talking about probably is why I'm still here.
I believe it. When did it all begin to click? When did the momentum of your business begin to carry you?
I think, so right before the pandemic, so when I started the company, we were not a SaaS model. We were we would go into schools. First of all, I started doing everything myself. I want you to know I'm as organic as it gets. I was the secretary, the curriculum designer, the recipe. I mean, everything. I even taught all the classes, which is why I put together a super training program. The only reason I put together a super training program is because I did it. I taught the classes. So we used to go to schools and offer our services to the schools, and we would hire instructors. That model was great, but it was not very sustainable or scalable because the labor was very high. And the schools didn't have enough money to do it because they had to pay for all that it entails. You know what it entails for somebody to come on premises of the school with food, with all of the tools, and teach kids 1 or 2 hours a day, because that's all we were able to get, right, at each school. So it became about 6 years down the line, when we were all over California, and this is about 50,000 kids behind us and probably about 1,800 schools, I realized that I just don't have the wherewithal and the capability to scale to where I wanted to go. I started to realize that my dream is not coming true. There's just not enough kids getting this product that I'm so in love with and that is so needed. So right before the pandemic, I made a very firm decision that we're going to pivot from Rainbow Chefs to Rainbow Chefs Academy, and we're going to be a SaaS platform with a backpack with the ability to scale nationally and internationally. And so I did a pilot program with 8 schools in Oakland, and they were my customer that I was doing business with coming to the schools. We had teachers at that time. So when I went to them and I said, hey, can you give me 1 schools to pilot? They said, why 1 schools? We're going to give you 9. We love Rainbow Chefs. I was like, wow. 9? I said wow too, Adam. Let me tell you. I said wow, and somehow, some way, I did a platform with MVP, and that's when the memento started to happen. I was able to scale, add classes. During the pandemic, I have to tell you, I got in my car and I drove around, delivered food and backpacks to people's houses. Because guess what? We were the most popular program at that time because kids were cooking with us on the platform. So we were so loved. And then, of course, pandemic was over. Everybody wanted to sign up with Rainbow Chefs Academy. And I think that's the momentum. When I pivoted from Rainbow Chefs to Rainbow Chefs Academy, we started to scale. We started to be able to service more people. And we started to be able to have analytics, which is very important for the schools. So I would say about 3 years ago, truthfully.
7 years of army crawling to the moment where you were in a spot to grow and build a minimum viable product on an order for 9 schools. And now we are where we are today. That is a story.
The truth. The one thing I want to say, which really surprised me and humbled me, is I gave them the MVP for free, meaning I told them I will not charge them. At the end of the period, they all paid me. I mean, they paid Rainbow Chefs, and I got a check. And I was like, you guys sent me a check? And they said, I don't know what this is, but this is really good. And we were able to do what we needed. So we're going to sign up. Here's the check. Use it to do more classes. Now, that was a celebration. I had dessert on that day.
I love it. Svetlana, I think a lot about energy. We're all trading it for something. I treat mine like an asset, right? The energy, the amount of time I put towards things, I'm very intentional about. How do you find time to recharge? What is it that people don't see?
Oh gosh, I'm super simplistic. So my recharge is my family, definitely. Kids, huge part of my life. I love to walk. I'm a big walker. I don't like to take my car anywhere. I walk. People laugh all the time. People that don't know me, they laugh. They say, are you going to meet me at the restaurant? Yes, I'll be there in 30 minutes. 30 minutes? It's 5 minutes from your house. Well, I'm going to walk. So I walk. I walk daily. I do yoga. I cook. I garden. I read. So I don't know, very simplistic things. And I do it every day. So nothing, feels hard for me because I make time for that every day. I walk in the morning and I walk every night. I go to my kids' house because they've had kids now, Adam.
Oh, boy.
So I make it a point to go there for a couple of hours every day because they're my little rainbows. And I get to, as you say, recharge. I enjoy. And then if I need to come home and, cook or whatever I need to do, I do. But I feel that balance, work and home balance is key. So because if you don't have that, you will really burn out and you're not going to think clearly. And I think it's super important. So I'm very regimented, super regimented. I just find that gives me peace and that gives me balance in my life. And I like that. I just, I enjoy walking and looking all the lemon trees that I walk with. That's, some people don't even think it's a treat, but it is. Because if you've been to other places in your life, you're not going to walk in 60 degrees weather in California, look at lemon trees and apple trees. And, the greenery here is just so gorgeous and, birds flying and the weather is beautiful. I don't know. I think that's so super to do that. And that's what I do.
It seems to be that's a common thread throughout much of your life, but certainly around your business, that you commit yourself to the daily task. You take the steps each day and you enjoy the process.
Some would
say you persist.
I persist because, Adam, I found early in my, when I started that if, when I still had Viana at home, who's my youngest, you have to, if you want to find time, you got to be, regimented and you have to enjoy. I love what I do. I mean, I think I always celebrate little things. We get a new school. That's something to be really happy about. We have a testimonial. We just onboarded 400 students and we get an email that it's already the favorite class and the teachers love it and the kids love it. Hey, so I think being positive is very important, not only regimented, but being positive. And so, as you said about energy, if your energy is good, then you're positive and you can work harder when you're positive. It's just the way it is. So I understood that early. And of course, persistence is a big thing in our life. If you can persist, you can succeed.
Svetlana, we get everybody out at the end of the show what we call our fast four. So 4 questions, kind of rapid answers.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, what trends are emerging that interest you?
What trends? Well, I think that the changing of education systems is coming our way. I think the way kids, ed tech, online courses have moved mountains since I started. Everything is so different. Even the schools are receptive. The kids are receptive. They have now podcast for kids. They have iPhones. There is, pads, iPads. There is online schools now. So I think those are the trends that are the way education is being, not only perceived by schools, but the way it's being perceived by students. So that always interests me. I think it's important to keep up with that. And it's important for Rainbow Chefs Academy to keep up with those trends as well, and work and make sure that we have all the tools that we can have for the kids and the teachers and the parents.
One place in the world everybody needs to visit.
I say Europe, Italy. I think,
Okay.
that is, I love to tie history to food, as you probably have guessed.
Yeah.
I love to go to different countries and try different foods in different countries. My personal favorite is Italy, and not because you're from there, but it helped. But I love, what the culture there and the people there are awesome. Just it's a beautiful place to visit. Anywhere you go in Italy is gorgeous. So that's a must for me.
I couldn't agree more. Greatest area of growth for you in the coming year?
The greatest area of growth is going national. We're on schedule to go nationally. So I hope to be in every state in the United States. I'd like to be in every school in the United States. I'd like to give this to every child. If I could, I would. And I'm still thinking about how I can.
I love it. The optimism. And favorite podcast that we need to be listening to?
Yours.
Oh, besides mine.
Favorite podcast? Adam, you got me.
How about, since you're an avid reader, what's the one book we all need to read?
The one book we all need to read. I mostly these days read books on how to become a better leader. That's what I read. Okay. I read several, and I want you to know they're fantastic and they're helpful. I like to educate myself. I always say that, education is key in every person's life. So I like to read educational books. I'll read Steve Jobs' book. I read, how to scale a company. This is what I love to read, and I read, and I also have the Audible, that where you can walk and read. I do that all the time. So I would say anything that interests you, but it's educational to you, whether it's food or entrepreneurship, something that you can learn. I think that is my favorite, subject is education in any sort of way.
Svetlana, thank you so much for joining the show. It was an absolute pleasure. We wish you best of luck on your mission. And,
thank you, Adam.
Congratulations.
This has been such a great podcast. Thank you so much. I'm not even nervous. I usually am, but wonderful. I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you. And I hope to meet you someday.
Pleasure is mine, and the feeling is mutual. Thank you for joining today's episode of Capital Class. If you're interested in joining our next discussion, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Capital Class is a venture with the Strategist Podcast Network. To view the entire lineup of shows, visit strategistgroup.com. I'm Adam Giery. Class is closed.